Hi, I'm here with Alex Collmer, founder and CEO of VidMob. How are you doing, Alex?
Keith, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
So my first question is, why is attention important?
I think any of us who live and operate and see other people living and operating in the world, it's fairly clear to see that everyone is bombarded with signals from 12 different directions at any point in time. So whether you're watching TV and at the same time on your phone, or browsing through something while also doing something else, uh, figuring out how to quantify whether or not something is getting the attention it needs is incredibly important for marketers. I think in a lot of ways it's kind of the new viewability. And if you're not adequately capturing it, you're probably overspending or spending ineffectively.
And obviously it's become a huge topic at industry events in the media. Why specifically, the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, where we sit right now, is it kind of at the top of everyone's list of things to address?
Well, I think it's part of it is a shift in viewing habits. I think to some extent, attention is kind of easier to monitor in a kind of digital social environment. There's pretty direct metrics that aren't necessarily like attention oriented that get you to the finish line there. But as we move towards CTV and some of the emerging formats in more scale, those the signal gets a little blurrier, and being able to adequately measure attention becomes increasingly important.
Obviously there's media attention, so the platforms that creative runs on, and then the creative attention, whether the ad itself in a vacuum is created to capture people's attention. Do you feel it's important to look at those individually or combine? Like, how do, in your mind, media and creative attention work together or separately?
Yeah, listen, we have pretty strong viewpoints here. I think our viewpoint is that the entire and whole industry has been almost like exclusively focused on media metrics, and that's great. But I think it's partially because those are easier to quantify. And at the same time, you have folks like Google out there saying that creative is responsible for 70% of results. And so if you take that as fact, and it doesn't really matter whether it's 70%, other places we hear 50%, whatever it is, the creative is the dominant driver of results. And so the fact that as an industry we've essentially ignored it is like borderline insane. And so getting to a point where we can be able to sort of quantify and measure not just creative attention but creative effectiveness, and start to understand how, not whether A is better than B, that's actually kind of useless to know.
Mhm.
But like, why is A better than B? What's
Right.
happening in there? What are the creative decisions that I've made that are actually leading to a better result? To me, that has to be coupled with attention, or else you're just kind of wasting attention.
And as you said, media attention, or the media measurement, has been, where a lot of the industry's focus is on. How has agencies and ultimately clients responded to the idea that creative measurement is possible and valuable, and attention needs to be one of the main things you look at when you're thinking about creative?
Yeah, so I'd say it's been a bit of a process. In our experience, we spent sort of a number of years just essentially arguing that creative mattered.
Mhm.
And I think particularly if you look back sort of 3-4 years pre-ATT, there was this sense, especially in the performance marketing world, that it really didn't matter what you made. Like the algorithm was going to find the audience, and so you could just throw anything out there and it'll work. And like a quote unquote sophisticated marketer, like think about some like the leading like games makers, was just whoever could throw the most garbage out there the fastest and let the algorithm sort through that. Like that world's definitely over, post ATT. I know I saw yesterday that, Playtika has suspended all user acquisition until they feel like they've gotten sort of better signal. And so like there's no more clear signal there that era is over. And so, now we definitely, when we talk to clients, there's no debate that creative is important. They kind of recognize that, it's essentially a seesaw. And as you lose the ability to drive effectiveness through media, it kind of pushes up, like creative just has to work harder
Right.
in order to make up for that. This is definitely like well, we hear it as a sort of a building theme. I know that, Terry Kawaja in his, wonderful talk at the 4As a few weeks ago, the slide that seemingly got the most attention was the one where he started with a zoomed in iceberg. And he's like, here's where the industry's been. It's been totally focused on what was above the surface. And that was kind of media efficiency. And then he zoomed out and you see, the sort of 95% of the iceberg under the water is all creative effectiveness.
Right.
And so like we see brands there, they're ready to go. And we work, deeply with L'Oreal and the NFL and a number of kind of very large marketers, and they're all in on creative effectiveness. I think the agencies are slower to move there. I think it's, they have established processes. Most of their investment has been in kind of, media efficiency and that world. But, they're kind of getting pulled there because brands are not ambiguous in the fact that they see that there's kind of just like little gain left to be had on the media side. It's like by picking over it as an industry for a decade, maybe you can get an extra point or two in results. But, the creative world is essentially an untapped, where you can drive 100, 200+%, increases in KPIs, because it's such, sort of blue sky territory.
The agencies that are maybe taking a little more time to embrace creative attention, what's the advice on how to start, how to get up to speed, or what's the first step to take to learn more?
I think I think the first thing I would say is that this is an area of opportunity, and that this is an area of, frankly, for new revenue streams for agencies. I think the initial response always is like, oh, this is going to be competitive. This is something that's going to like, sort of compete with our existing way of business. And I don't think that's the case. Like what we sort of see, we're already starting to drive partnerships with agencies, both sort of indie and holdcos, where their people are learning how to use software like ours to be able to do that sort of creative analysis and creative assessment, measure and report on creative effectiveness, do the creative analytics, and go back to brands with the insights they need to drive more effective creative. And they're seeing that their clients are willing to pay for that because it drives such, outsized results, and the results are very measurable, right? If you look at like kind of baseline creative performance over the last few months or last year, and then make new creative based on, these insights, and that performs, 80% better on $100 million spend, well, $80 million just got created out of nowhere. And so that's value that's measurable and justifies a fee. So I would just say for those agencies, it's this process, it can be learned relatively easily. And the same way they've built incredible practices on the tops of, whether it's Adobe, creative, cloud software or other software, this is like a next area of opportunity. And the ones who lean in the most are going to build, large, multi tens of millions of dollars, multi hundreds of millions of dollars practices around this new service area.